It's hot again today. My name is Kevin. I'm a 30-year-old average office worker. Today, too, I was returning from a client's office in the sweltering heat. The asphalt road seemed to shimmer in the strong sunlight, and my whole body was drenched in sweat. Why is it so hot? As I thought this, I staggered toward the train station. The rotary in front of the station, with its fountain, was a little oasis. On a bench nearby, a businessman was sitting, taking a break and eating his lunch. There stood a woman by the fountain. She was a well-dressed old lady, but on closer inspection, she seemed to be visually impaired. She tapped the tactile paving with her white cane. Seeing her, I felt a tightness in my chest, because it brings back painful memories. Nearby, there was loud construction noise, and perhaps because of the noise, the old lady seemed confused and unable to understand her surroundings. I knew she was in trouble, but I couldn't bring myself to speak to her as I was about to pass her by. Then suddenly she said, "Excuse me, I'm sorry, I can't see. Could you please take me to the station entrance?" Caught off guard, I stopped in my tracks. She must have discerned my presence by my footsteps. People who are visually impaired often have heightened hearing. "Where do you need to go?" "I'm really sorry, but I need to get to the next station." Seeing the old lady bow apologetically, I made up my mind. "Sure, let's go together." "Thank you." The old lady's face relaxed with relief as we linked arms and headed toward the destination station. "We're here." I walked slowly, matching her pace, and guided her to the front of the station entrance. The old lady bowed again. "Thank you so much." "No, I'll be going then." "Wait, I'd like to thank you. Could you please tell me your address?" No, it's fine. Please don't worry about it." "I insist, please." I declined when she suddenly asked for my address, but the old lady wouldn't back down. Finally, after much insistence, I handed her my business card and quickly left the station. "Kevin, you've got a phone call." For me. A few days later, my boss called out to me at the office. "Hello." I took the phone from my boss, and the caller remained silent for a moment. "A prank call, maybe." "Hello, I'm going to hang up." "Oh, sorry. Is this Kevin?" "Yes." "Who's this?" "I'm the son of the woman you helped at the station. Thank you for that time. My mother found the company's number on the card you gave her, so I called." "Oh, the lady from that time. I'm sorry to ask out of the blue, but do you remember a name Eugene Miller?" At the mention of that name, my face instantly tensed up. Eugene was the name of someone who caused me the greatest trauma and a deep emotional scar. Just when I thought I had finally forgotten, I'm reminded of him in such an unexpected place. But why does this man know about Eugene? I broke into a cold sweat at the thought, but somehow managed to squeeze out a response. "No, I don't know who that is." "I see. Well, thank you for helping my mother. I'll contact you again if there's an opportunity." "Yes, okay." To be honest, I didn't want to talk anymore. I didn't want to meet that old lady again, nor did I want to remember Eugene, because it would revive unpleasant memories from the past. It was a story from when I was still in elementary school. At that time, I attended a tiny school in the countryside with only about 20 students, and that's where Eugene transferred in. What he did to me back then is still vivid in my memory. Eugene, who had moved from the city, quickly became popular at school, but for some reason, he started to pick on me. He would come over and badmouth me with other classmates or steal my lunch money to buy snacks for them. In short, everything Eugene did to me is something I'd rather not recall. And then, the worst incident happened, but no, I'd rather not think about it. It only makes me feel sick. As I walked home, lost in these thoughts, I suddenly heard a voice. "We meet again." I snapped back to reality. Looking up, I saw the old lady with a white cane, the same one from before. "Are you heading home?" "Yes, I am. It's nice to see you again." The old lady approached me. "Thank you so much for last time." As she bowed deeply, I remembered the phone call and asked her a question that had been on my mind. "Excuse me, by any chance, is your name Mrs. Miller? Did my son tell you?" "Yes. He called my office to thank me." I couldn't bring myself to say more. Just thinking about those times made me feel nauseous. I remembered your name, Kevin. Are you still afraid of Eugene? At those words from the old lady, my eyes widened. So, it was true. My unpleasant suspicion had been confirmed. "Yes, that's right. I'm truly sorry." The old lady looked sad. She was Eugene's mother. It's strange how fate works. I never imagined Eugene's mother would also be visually impaired. My own mother was visually impaired. Back in elementary school, despite Eugene's bullying, I never gave up and kept going to school. No matter how tough it was, I had a source of strength. It was my mother's words. "It's okay. I'll protect you no matter what happens." My mother had lost her sight shortly after giving birth to me. She had been frail since childhood, and doctors weren't sure she could withstand childbirth, but she went ahead and gave me life, raising me with all her might. My father was already gone when I was born. Unable to work, my mother lived on assistance from the government. "Kevin, I'm sorry. I can buy you the things you like." My mother often said this with an apologetic look, but I wasn't suffering at all. I was happy living with her. Above all, just being with my favorite person in the world, my mother, was happiness itself. When I told her this, she smiled gently. One day, when my mother and I went shopping at a local supermarket. "Hey, isn't that Kevin?" I was called from behind, and, reluctantly turning around, I saw Eugene with a sneering smile. "Is he your friend?" my mother asked, but I didn't answer and tried to walk away quickly. However, Eugene and his classmates surrounded us, blocking the way. My visually impaired mother was confused and disoriented, not understanding what was happening. "What do you want? If you don't need anything, just go away. Give me your bag." "What?" I didn't understand what he was talking about. "Stop joking around. Kevin, what's happening?" "It's okay, Mom. Let's just ignore these guys." As I took my anxious mother's hand and tried to leave, suddenly, one of Eugene's classmates forcefully pulled me, and I lost my balance, falling backwards. Eugene pointed and laughed at me, ridiculing me. "What a clumsy guy. Stop it." Eugene tried to snatch the bag, and my mother resisted desperately. The classmates egged him on. Seeing this, I finally lost my temper and punched Eugene hard. "Ow, what are you doing? You jerk." "Whoa." I tackled Eugene to the ground and held him down. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, the classmates tried to intervene. "Kevin, stop it." My mother screamed, her voice mixed with tears. Her face was pale, and she looked like she was about to cry. I realized Eugene was trembling, his face pale with fear. Glancing at my fist, I saw blood trickling down. I don't remember much after that. I was told by Eugene's mother that he wanted to see me, and as we rode the train together, I remembered that day. After so many years, I wondered what he could possibly want now. "Are you sure it's okay to meet him?" That boy has always regretted that day, especially since I became ill and lost my vision. "I see." As I thought of a response, I suddenly remembered that Eugene had moved away. A few days after that event, he suddenly changed schools. I later heard that his parents were having a divorce. While his parents were discussing the divorce, he was sent to live with his grandparents. Perhaps he was taking out his loneliness and the pain of not having his parents around on me. But that didn't mean I was ready to forgive him. "How is your mother doing?" "She passed away soon after Eugene moved." "I see." She slowly lowered her eyes. I vividly remember how my mother repeatedly apologized to Eugene's grandparents back then. Apologize. What you did is unacceptable for anyone. When I hesitated to apologize, she yelled at me. Seeing my mother's pained face, I left the scene as if running away. I couldn't understand why I had to apologize when it should have been Eugene. He has always regretted being harsh to you. He wanted to apologize if possible. I know it's not the best way to put it, but I just can't help thinking how selfish he's always been. Sorry about that. Yes, I understand how you feel, but he's still my precious son. Hearing Eugene's mother's words made my heart ache, because my own mother had said something similar. I had shouted at my mother in frustration when I was forced to apologize. I hate you, Mom. After hearing those words, my mother replied with a sad smile. Even so, you're still my precious son. Not long after, my mother passed away due to her worsening chronic illness. It's been a while. When I visited his house, I was greeted by an awkward Eugene. Seeing his face brought back my trauma, but I managed to keep my composure. According to him, he's now married with children. His child is having a tough time at school and is on the verge of not attending. It seemed like a punishment for what he had done in the past, but somehow it made me feel even heavier. Sitting in the living room, I spoke to the uncomfortable Eugene. You didn't have to meet me if it was too much. I couldn't do that. I really wanted to thank you properly for helping my mother. By the way, I heard about your mom. She passed away, right? Yeah, a long time ago. Eugene looked down, his voice trembling as he bowed his head. I'm really sorry. At those words, I couldn't help but laugh. What's that? It's meaningless to say it now, isn't it? I know, but I've always regretted it, especially since my own mother lost her sight. When my child started facing bullying at school, it made me think even more. I feel like I'm being punished for being the worst person. Yeah, you were the worst. Have you finally realized that as an adult? Just because you were a jerk in the past, don't waste time fretting over it. Think more about your mother and your child instead. Kevin, just so you know, you'll always be a jerk to me, but to your mother, you are her only son, right? To your child, you are their only father, right? So, for their sake, don't become an even worse person. Let me be the only one who thinks of you that way. Tears began to stream down Eugene's face as he heard those words. Thank you. I don't need your forgiveness, but thank you. His face was a mess with tears. Feeling there was no need to talk further, I bowed and stood up. Eugene's mother came to see me off at the entrance, bowing deeply again. I'm sorry. What my son did is unforgivable. Still, thank you so much for coming. No, it was no trouble. Thank you. I nodded briefly and quickly left his house. Mom, he's still the same jerk, I muttered to myself on the way home. This was for the best. The lingering frustration had cleared, leaving me feeling somewhat refreshed. A few days later, on a day off, I decided to visit my mother's grave. There was something I just had to tell her. Even after Eugene apologized and thanked me, the past can't be changed. But one thing did change. I don't intend to apologize to him, but I think I owe an apology to Mom. I could never forgive my mother for demanding an apology. That's what I never intended to take back the words I said, hating her. Yet, my mother must have been deeply hurt by those words. But right before she passed away, she said with a smile, I love you, Kevin. You're my favorite in the whole world. My precious son. My mother gently held my weeping hand, and then she passed away. I was just a kid in elementary school then, and it took a while for the grief of losing my mother to heal, but I try my best, remembering her words and smile. I love you the most in the world too, Mom. I'm so sorry for what I said. Tears streamed down my face. It's too late for regrets, but I apologize to the memory of my mother. I might fall in love with someone else in the future, but the love I feel for that person will be different from the love I have for my mother. I respect you the most in the world, Mom. I don't think I'll ever meet a woman I respect more than her. My mother, in my heart, is a dearly beloved presence. I'll always love her. I will not forget these feelings. Since then, I have been trying to support those who visually impaired in any way I can. So I have been volunteering in the community and am currently learning Braille. I hadn't met Eugene or his mother since that day. I don't know what I might say, remembering the past, and I don't want to meet them ever again. It's better for both of us to walk completely separate paths. I want to let go of the negative feelings and keep trying my best, hoping to somehow repay my mother for my regrets. Surely, my mother will be watching over me from heaven.